Tonight, the city does not need you to keep watch. Someone else is walking the quiet streets. His wooden clappers sound once in the distance, clear and unhurried.
Can.
Then, after a little while, can again. This is Edo, the city that will one day become Tokyo. There are no electric lamps, no engines, and no late trains. Behind wooden shutters, cooking fires have gone dark. Paper lanterns burn low beside the doors. A narrow canal carries the moon between sleeping houses. The watchman knows every gate, every alley, and every roof in his small part of the city.
Nothing is wrong. That is why he walks. His name is Sota.
He arrives at the neighborhood guardhouse just before the last blue light leaves the sky. The building is small, no larger than a shop front, with a low desk, a kettle, and hooks for lanterns and coats. In Edo, such a place may be called a jishinban, a guard post maintained by the neighborhood. It is a place for messages, local business, and watch duty. Tonight, it is simply where Sota begins. An older guard sits beside the open door. He has already checked the lantern oil and trimmed the blackened wick. A thin thread of smoke rises for a moment, then disappears. On the desk lie 2 pieces of hard wood, smooth from years of use. They are Hayoshigi wooden clappers. Sota lifts them and feels their familiar weight. They are not large. They do not need to be. When struck together, their dry voice travels farther than an ordinary call. The older guard pours hot water into a cup. They listen as the neighborhood settles. A shopkeeper slides a heavy wooden shutter into place. A broom brushes dust from a doorway. Somewhere beyond the roofs, a temple bell marks the evening hour. Sota drinks slowly. There is time.
A good night watch does not begin in a hurry. Edo is one of the largest cities in the world, and much of it is made from wood.
Posts, beams, roof boards, shutters, floors, shelves, buckets, bridges and gates. Paper covers many windows and doors. Charcoal warms food. Oil feeds the small flames inside lamps. These ordinary things make the city comfortable. They also ask for care. Fire has visited Edo many times. After great fires, streets were widened in some places, open spaces were created, and systems of firefighting grew more organized. In the early 18th century, town fire brigades called machibikeshi were formed for the commoners' districts. Their work was difficult. Water alone could not always stop a fire moving across crowded wooden roofs. Firefighters might pull down nearby structures to make an empty space the flames could not cross. But Sota is not going out to fight a fire. His work begins earlier than that. He will look for a forgotten lamp, smell for smoke, listen for a shout, and remind those still awake to be careful. Prevention makes no heroic picture. It is a lid placed correctly on a brazier. It is one last glance at the kitchen. It is a quiet man walking the same street again. The older guard hands Sota a paper lantern. Its frame is bamboo. Its light is warm but modest, reaching only a few steps ahead. Beyond that small circle, the street remains blue and grey. Sota steps outside. The first strike of the clappers is sharp in the cool air. Can. He waits until the sound has travelled between the houses. Then he calls a brief warning to take care with fire. There is no alarm in his voice. The words are familiar. They belong to the night in the same way as the creak of a gate or the distant bell. At the tofu shop, steam no longer rises from the workroom. The charcoal has been covered. A wet cloth hangs near the doorway.
At the noodle seller's house, a woman checks the clay stove before closing the shutter. She sees Sota's lantern and gives a small nod.
He nods back. The row houses beyond the shop share long roofs and narrow alleys. Several families live close enough to hear one another turn in bed. Their rooms are small, but the alley gives them a common space around the well and drain. Sota walks to the well. The buckets are where they should be. Their ropes hang neatly beneath the little roof. A cat watches him from a barrel, then folds itself back into sleep. Sota lifts the clappers again.
Ken. Nothing answers. Nothing needs to.
At the end of the street stands a wooden gate called a kido. During the day, people pass beneath it without much thought. At night, the gate helps the neighborhood keep track of movement between one block and the next. The gatekeeper has already drawn it nearly closed. A narrow opening remains for those with good reason to pass. A doctor may be called to a patient. A midwife may be needed before dawn. Firefighters must never be delayed by a locked gate. Tonight only Sota arrives. The gatekeeper knows his face and hears the clappers before he sees the lantern. "All quiet?" he asks. "All quiet," Sota says. For a moment the two men stand beneath the gate roof and look toward the canal. The water is dark except where it catches a lantern from the bridge. A boat is tied against the bank, its cargo covered and its rope pulled tight. Warehouses rise behind it with thick walls and heavy shutters. The gatekeeper listens to the night beyond his own street. Far away, another pair of clappers sounds. The rhythm is not the same as Sota's, but the meaning is.
Someone else is awake.
Someone else has looked at the roofs and found them still. Sota passes through the opening. The gatekeeper closes it softly behind him. The air is cooler beside the canal. It carries the smell of water, wet rope, timber, and the faint salt of the distant bay. Edo's waterways are roads of another kind, bringing rice, fish, firewood, and countless daily goods through the city. Now the traffic has stopped. Sota's sandals make a soft sound on the packed earth. His lantern paints a moving amber line along the canal rail. He passes a warehouse guard sitting beneath an awning. The man has wrapped both hands around a cup for warmth. They exchange greetings, but neither begins a conversation. The hour encourages fewer words. Ahead, a bridge rises gently over the water. At its highest point, Sota pauses. The city spreads around him in layers. Near the canal are storehouses and merchants' homes. Farther away are dark roofs, temple trees, and the faint outline of a watch platform above the houses. No single lantern can show all of Edo. Yet from here, small lights can be seen in many directions.
One goes out, then another.
The city is not becoming empty. It is becoming private. Daytime voices withdraw behind wood and paper. Families settle onto bedding. Tools wait on shelves. Shop signs disappear into darkness. Sota rests his hands on the bridge rail. The canal moves beneath him without asking to be watched. For a few breaths he lets it pass. The watch platform stands beside another guard post. A short ladder leads to the wooden floor above the roofline. Sota places his lantern on a hook below and climbs carefully into the moonlight. From the platform, the streets look narrower. The roofs seem to touch, though small lanes, courtyards, canals, and open spaces lie between them. Chimneys and vents appear as dark shapes. No smoke rises where it should not. Sota turns slowly, checking each direction. To the east, the sky above the river is pale. To the west, the land rises almost too gently to notice. A temple roof catches a thin edge of moonlight. He does not imagine danger in every shadow. That would make the work impossible. He looks for change.
A light where there was no light before. Smoke moving against the wind. A glow that grows instead of fading. Tonight, the only motion is a loose cloud crossing the stars. The lantern below flickers once. Sota lowers himself to the platform floor and sits with his back against a post. He can feel the warmth stored in the old wood from the day. Below him, the city breathes so quietly that each small sound has room around it. Water against a bridge support, a shutter settling in its groove, the call of an insect from a garden wall. Then the distant clappers sound again. Ken? Sota closes his eyes until the echo is gone. The second round begins deeper in the night. The streets have changed, though nothing has moved. Doorways are darker, the air is cooler. Even the lantern flame seems smaller. Sota returns to the row houses. This time he walks more slowly. At one doorway, a lamp still glows behind paper. He stops and listens. There is the quiet murmur of an elderly man speaking, followed by the sound of a cup placed on a tray. A moment later, the lamp dims. Sota continues. At the shared well, moonlight lies across the bucket roof. The cat is gone. Near the kitchen wall of the tofu shop, he pauses for the faint smell of warm ash. It is ordinary and already fading. There is no sharp scent, no smoke, and no heat where it should not be. He strikes the clappers. Ken!
The note is softer now because the city around it is softer. A child wakes behind one of the thin walls. The child asks what the sound means.
A sleepy voice answers that the watchman is passing.
The child asks if everything is safe.
Yes, the voice says. Everything is safe.
Sota does not hear the words clearly, but he hears the child settle. He lowers the clappers to his side. For the rest of the alley, he lets silence do the work. By the time Sota returns to the guardhouse, the eastern sky has begun to lose its darkness. The older guard is awake beside the kettle. Sota hangs the lantern on its hook. The flame has used almost all its oil. He places the wooden clappers on the desk exactly where he found them. The guard asks about the night. Sota considers the canal, the closed kitchens, the watch platform, and the child behind the wall. Quiet, he says. It is the smallest report and the best one.
Soon the gates will open.
Water will be drawn from the well. Shutters will slide aside. Charcoal will be lit again beneath careful hands. Boats will begin to move along the canal, and the city will return to its daytime voice. Sota drinks one last cup of hot water. His work has left no mark on the street. No crowd saw him. No bell called the fire brigades. No roof was pulled down. He simply walked, listened, and came back. Outside, the first shopkeeper lifts a shutter.
Inside, the clappers rest.
You do not need to follow Sota into the morning. You do not need to listen for the next sound. The roofs are still. The lamps are safe. The quiet city is already watching over itself.
And now you may sleep.